So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you wore suspenders? Or for that matter, even thought about wearing them? Yup, that's what I thought. Suspenders used to be the go-to accessory for men. Practical, stylish, and absolutely essential. But nowadays, belts run the game. And suspenders have been regulated to weddings and the red carpet. So how and why did this happen? Why did men stop wearing suspenders? That's what we're going to break down in today's video. We're going to figure out why suspenders got pushed to the back seat. And if you're new here, welcome, Jeff, your Style O.G. On this channel, we discuss various men's lifestyle topics such as style, grooming, and dating. If any or all those topics interest you, I invite you to subscribe, tap the notification bell, and join us. And to my returning friends like Aunt D9, salute. Now, to get to the bottom of why men stopped wearing suspenders, first we have to take it back to where it all started. Suspenders, or braces as they were referred to back in the day, date all the way back to the 18th century. Now you see, around this time, the pants that men wore tended to sit higher up on the waist, much higher on the waist than the pants that we typically wear nowadays. And the higher the pants sit up on your waist, belts become less and less of a practical choice. And because of that reason, suspenders stepped up as a solution. Because suspenders are designed to sit over your shoulders and hold your trousers in place, suspenders do the job much better on higher waisted pants than belts ever could. And by the 1820s, suspenders had become the standard for keeping your pants up. And high quality suspenders made by brands such as Albert Thurston were seen as signs of sophistication and class. But back then, suspenders were meant to be worn and not seen. They were typically worn under a waistcoat or a jacket. And so for the 18th, 19th, and the beginning of the 20th century, suspenders were holding it down. But things started to shift in the mid to late 20th century. Why did this happen? Now, belts started to gain popularity in the 1920s and 30s as more pants were designed with belt loops on them. And besides that, trousers were starting to be designed to sit lower on the waist, which then in turn made belts a much better option to hold up your pants than suspenders, or so people thought. Belts were simpler, easier to use, and seen as much more modern than suspenders. Around this time, if you wanted to stay on trend, you reached for a belt, not suspenders. And then came World War II. During the war, practicality became king. Belts became the standard in military uniforms. And when the soldiers returned home, they brought that habit with them. And a lot of men's style is derived from military designs and uses. So due to practicality and changing trends, belts started to become more of the standard. Now, if belts were the first nail in the coffin, the 1960s and 70s were the knockout punch for suspenders. You see, this was the era of youth rebellion. And guys wanted to move away from anything that seemed old school or traditional. And suspenders were seen as every bit of that. You see, guys during this time started wearing more casual clothing. Think about your jeans, your t-shirts, and overall more casual styles just started to take over. So therefore, belts were seen as much more appropriate for this more casual, rebellious look. Belts fit into this vibe much better than suspenders did. You see, suspenders just started to be seen as old-fashioned, too stuffy or too formal. And let's keep it real. Guys around this time didn't want to be seen as having the same style as their dad or their granddad. So to many guys during this time, suspenders started to be seen as something as your grandfather wore or something you saw in old school photos. And they definitely weren't seen as the accessory for the modern man. So with the rebellious spirit of the 1950s through the 70s and the push towards more casual wear, suspenders took even more of a backseat to belts. But I don't want you to get it twisted. Suspenders didn't disappear completely from the scene. They stuck around in some interesting ways. A lot of times, especially from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you would see suspenders as signs of pop culture. You would see pop culture references and uses of suspenders in movies like Wall Street, worn by Gordon Gekko. Michael Douglas's character wore suspenders as a sign of authority and power. Not to mention you had guys like Larry King who wore suspenders as a personal statement. And on the other hand, suspenders stayed very popular in specific professions, especially for blue-collar workers. Suspenders were a practical and reliable option to give you support and keep your pants up during heavy-duty tasks. You see, the great thing about suspenders for blue-collar work, they distribute your weight evenly, ensuring comfort during long hours of physical labor. And another great thing about suspenders when it comes to my blue-collar fellas, they prevent bunching around the waist. Suspenders don't slip or constrict around the waist like a belt when you're carrying tools or bending over frequently. You see, the great thing about suspenders, functionality is never out of style. Now, let's fast forward to today. Suspenders are having a bit of a comeback, but in a different way. Suspenders have found a new home in formal wear and vintage-inspired outfits. Think about situations like weddings, three-piece suits, or hipster-inspired looks. The great thing about a lot of dressier clothing, suits, suspenders, dress shoes, as men as a whole dress more casually, guys start to wear more formal things as a choice, not a requirement, including suspenders. Oftentimes, if you are rocking suspenders, you're doing it to stand out, not blend in. But here's the great thing about suspenders. When worn right, they can actually elevate your style. The great thing about suspenders, they're sharp, they're classy, and they show that you're a man who pays attention to details. However, if you're gonna wear suspenders by choice, please, by all means, don't wear the clip-on ones. Go for suspenders with buttons. It's all about authenticity. Now, being that this is a style channel, I actually want to talk to you about why suspenders actually give you a step up in style when compared to belts. The reason why I'm a fan of suspenders, and I believe you should be too. Suspenders are just not functional, they actually can elevate your style. Now, one of the things that makes suspenders a great choice, unlike belts, suspenders keep your pants sitting at your natural waist much more easily, which not only looks better, it's more comfortable. Another great thing about suspenders, when you're rocking them, they elongate your frame, making you appear taller and slimmer. So not only do they have old school charm, they actually make you look better. Oftentimes when I'm giving style tips to my big guys, suspenders are one of my top recommendations. Because suspenders distribute your weight much more evenly than belts, this helps prevent your jeans or pants from bunching or sagging. A great solution for my big guys. Of course, as I just said, suspenders elongate you and make you look slimmer. Another key reason why my big guys should wear them. And on top of that, unlike belts, they don't dig and cinch your waist, and they don't emphasize your midsection. Suspenders allow your pants to drape naturally and cleaner, giving you a much more polished silhouette. Now, in addition to my bigger guys, guess who else suspenders work wonders for? My vertically challenged fellas. Yes, suspenders are a great option for shorter guys. Now, just as I mentioned a couple of times that suspenders can elongate your frame and make you look taller, in addition to that, as opposed to belts, suspenders don't cut you in half. The reason why I often advise short guys not wear belts and to make sure as often as possible their pants fit well without wearing a belt is that wearing a belt cuts your body in half. When shorter guys cut their bodies in half with a belt, it makes them look even shorter. That's why even though I'm 5'10", average height, I often will go for suspenders over a belt. It gives you a taller and more flattering silhouette. Okay, fellas, so there's my breakdown on why suspenders went out of style and why I think they should come back. From changing trends to the rise of belts, suspenders took a back seat. But here's the thing, suspenders never went out of style for the sharp-dressed man in the know. Suspenders bring timeless sophistication, functionality, and a unique flair that belts could never match. So whether you're rocking a classic suit or looking to elevate your casual game, don't ever sleep on suspenders. Okay, so now I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts about suspenders. Do you rock them over belts, or do you believe suspenders are an old school accessory that need to stay in the past? Let me know. And if you enjoyed this video and found it informative, I highly recommend you check out a recent video I did about the 9 worst watch mistakes men tend to make. You can check it out right here.